Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 148 based on novel. Swallowed Star 2 novel continue writing by the author. So daily one video uploaded. So let's start. In the distance, Di Ching heard what Luo Feng said and felt his blood boil with excitement. He laughed heartily. That's right. We, the experts of the origin world, have never feared making enemies. The 4 experts of the Guile workshop felt that something was wrong. Normally, the experts of the origin world acted cautiously to ensure a stable cultivation environment. But if the facade were truly torn apart, leading to an all-out fight to the death, the experts of the origin world might lose some treasures, but they could continuously send clones from their homeland. Back then, I already felt that killing 2 middle-stage god emperors wouldn't be so easy. It would have been better to take a ransom and let them go. But Kumo insisted on taking action. In this endless blood sea, we have no way to find where Kumo is imprisoned. Even if we wanted to save him, we couldn't. The 4 experts of the Guile workshop were troubled. You all help me think of a way. He's refining me. I can't hold on for much longer. The imprisoned gloomy man anxiously transmitted his voice to the outside world. My body has already been refined by 20%. Begging for mercy, negotiating, whatever it takes, find a way to save me. The gloomy man urgently transmitted his voice. As long as you can rescue me, I'm willing to give each of you 10 million chaotic origin crystals. The 4 experts of the Guile workshop were shocked when they heard this. Refined by 20%? They were shocked. The innate chaotic origin life forms had life cores, but for cultivators like them, there were no specific vital points. Either their souls were completely annihilated, or their bodies were entirely destroyed. If Kumo dies, this endless blood sea might imprison one of us next, taking us down one by one. A frost-based creature transmitted this message to its 3 companions. Upon hearing this, the 3 companions felt a chill in their hearts. They had all joined the Guile workshop, but how deep could their camaraderie really be? Naturally, it wasn't strong enough. Let's go. Hurry up and leave. After reaching a unified decision, the light projection that was fighting Di Ching flickered and quickly rejoined the other 3 companions. Kumo, we will inform your master and have him find a way to save you. They sent a transmission before the 4 of them combined their strength, transforming into a hazy beam of light. This light shattered all obstacles in its path and forcibly fled into the distance. If both sides engaged in battle, it would take time to determine the winner. Luo Feng would also need time to defeat them one by one. But once they fled at full speed, even Luo Feng's endless blood sea couldn't stop them. Whoosh! The hazy beam of light moved at incredible speed. Within just 2 breaths, it had disappeared beyond the horizon. Whoosh! The endless blood sea condensed into a black-robed figure. It was Luo Feng. They're gone. Di Ching also flew over to Luo Feng's side, smiling as he gazed into the distance. I didn't expect that the 2 of us against 5 of them would result in them losing one while the other 4 fled directly. These plundering forces never have deep bonds with each other, Luo Feng sneered. By the way, the God Emperor you imprisoned, do you have a way to kill him? Di Ching asked. A moment is all it takes, Luo Feng replied. Di Ching immediately grinned. That's satisfying. They tried to kill us, so we should kill them. Killing that God Emperor might even bring us greater spoils than this entire hunt. Luo Feng's heart stirred. Experts from the billions of worlds don't have clones. So all the treasures they accumulate are always carried on them, Di Ching said with a smile. Luo Feng understood. Some auxiliary treasures, inheritances, and such might have long since disappeared, but habitually carried weapons, secret treasures, and cultivation materials were usually kept on hand. To prevent them from calling for reinforcements, let's leave here first, Luo Feng said. At that moment, he was still fully refining the imprisoned Kumo. Let's go. Di Ching and Luo Feng immediately boarded a black flying boat and swiftly departed. Inside Luo Feng's body, within the spatial prison formed by the eye of the blood sea of his indestructible blood sea body. The chains of life and death, condensed from the power of the formation, bound Kumo tightly, continuously corroding and tearing apart his body. Kumo's body is composed of countless rule-based poisons. Luo Feng's clone came to this place, observing his opponent with the bionic eye of destruction. Kumo's body was essentially an endless mass of black, viscous sludge. Even if his body were torn apart, it would simply disperse into countless poisonous elements, causing no real harm to him. This time, Luo Feng acted decisively. He used his endless blood sea to encompass a vast area, imprisoning all the black sludge poisons at once, making it impossible for Kumo to escape. The life and death formation continued refining, constantly consuming and neutralizing portions of the rule-based poisons. They escaped? Kumo was furious, but then he quickly became relieved. In the entire Yulon city, the only one truly close to him was his master. Who else really cared whether he lived or died? What a terrifying formation, Kumo muttered, unable to break free. He could feel the corrosive and tearing power of the life and death formation. He had never feared close combat, and in this battle, he was the first to attach himself to Luo Feng, attempting to corrode his body. But in terms of physical body strength, Luo Feng was clearly superior. My strange poison body allows me to fight middle-stage God Emperor level chaotic origin life forms in close combat. I can corrode them and even injure them. But my strange poison body can't withstand the power of this life and death formation. Kumo's body gradually twisted. Only his head remained in its normal form, while the rest of his body started transforming into large amounts of black sludge. Black muddy sludge, constantly being refined and consumed. Luo Feng. Kumo maintained his normal head posture, looking at Luo Feng. Luo Feng stood not far away, using the bionic eye of destruction to observe Kumo's current state. I don't know under what conditions you would let me go. Kumo looked at Luo Feng. He nodded, a cold and sinister expression showing a hint of a smile. Along this journey, I have killed too many beings. Finally, it's my turn to be killed. Kumo closed his eyes. At this moment, he recalled his journey. The world he was born into, the great Tao, was poisonous. The further one cultivated, the closer one was to death. Only by breaking through to the next realm before each calamity arrived could one continue to survive with great difficulty. He had traveled through more than 300 worlds, personally witnessing the destruction of 19 worlds and even causing the destruction of 3 worlds. He had ascended 3 times. Barely managing to reach the God King before the final, Great Tao Death Tribulation, mastering a branch of the Great Tao. Only by mastering a branch of the Great Tao could one escape. Later, he even mastered that entire Great Tao of poisonous. When the Great Tao Death Tribulation brought him to Yulon City, he realized the inheritance of the Guile workshop was too suitable for him. With it, he cultivated the strange poison body. Slaughter and plundering were as natural to him as breathing. Even the destruction of worlds did not concern him. I reached the God King level just to escape the Great Tao Death Tribulation. But over the endless years, I have already gotten used to it, used to killing, used to plundering, used to everything. Habit has long since penetrated my soul. At the moment of death, Kumo finally understood. The endless tribulations of the Great Tao Death Tribulation, from his weak beginnings to his time as a God King, had influenced him too deeply. His body had been almost entirely refined, leaving only a small residue. At this moment, Kumo tried to contact his companions, but the distance was too great, he could no longer reach them. The 9 Rivers Sacred World had strong suppression in all aspects, and the transmission range of communication treasures was relatively small. I can't get through anymore. At this moment, Kumo thought of the only master he had ever had. His master's talent was far greater than his own. The fact that Kumo had been able to escape death tribulations and survive until now was all thanks to his master. I'm not dying at the hands of another cultivator, I'm dying at the hands of the Great Tao Death Tribulation. Master, don't avenge me. Kumo murmured softly. Whoosh! The last remaining bit of black muddy sludge was completely refined and wiped out. Kumo vanished entirely, leaving no trace behind. Only at the moment of his death did his secret treasures and other items remain. Luo Feng watched the entire refining process from beginning to end. A cultivator with the strength of a middle-stage god emperor Dao cultivator, his cultivation journey was certainly a legendary one. Luo Feng understood that their cultivation was not easy. Moreover, he knew that the seniors of the past had spent great effort nurturing powerful cultivators. That was why, in Yulon City, Luo Feng kept a low profile and avoided trouble. But when someone wanted to kill him, he would never hold back. "You are the first god emperor I have ever killed," Luo Feng said softly, waving his hand to collect the secret treasures left behind by Kumo. Among these treasures were a storage treasure, the illusory realm maze, and strange poison secret treasures. As for the contents of the illusory realm maze, it stored a massive number of items. Inside were a large number of low-level chaotic origin life-form materials, mostly related to strange poisons, along with other spoils obtained through plundering. The illusory realm maze itself was a secret treasure containing 3 items. Many cultivators have died at his hands, Luo Feng thought. The materials he purchased include quite a few top-quality ones. Unlike his own frugal purchasing habits, Kumo's acquisitions were much more extravagant. Of course, a large number of materials were also used to aid his poison refinement. Estimating the value of these materials and treasures, it should be around 80 million chaotic origin crystals, Luo Feng judged. Most of a cultivator's lifetime gains were eventually consumed for purchasing rare auxiliary treasures, obtaining supreme inheritances, and more. The items carried at all times were merely common cultivation essentials, with relatively limited value. 80 million chaotic origin crystals, this is quite a decent sum. Luo Feng was satisfied. The return journey was much smoother after that. There were no more encounters with plunderers, and the black flying boat successfully reached Yulon City. "Brother Luo Feng, the news of you killing Kumo will spread quickly," Di Qing said. "In Yulon City, your reputation will grow far beyond before." Previously, Luo Feng had been too low-key. The outside world had even assumed he was only at the early God Emperor stage. But now, he had fought 4 middle-stage God Emperors alone, and even killed one, Kumo. With this level of strength, he was definitely among the strongest middle-stage God Emperor Dao cultivators, enough to attract the attention of many forces. In Yulon City, you can rank among the top 2,000 in terms of strength, Di Qing said. "With such fame, even if you don't seek trouble, trouble will find you." Luo Feng nodded. "By the way," Di Qing continued, "according to intelligence, the only true relative Kumo had in Yulon City was his master, Yu Yong. Kumo's master, Yu Yong, is much harder to deal with." Luo Feng, however, smiled relaxedly. "My presence in the 9 Rivers sacred world is merely a clone. What's there to be afraid of? If anyone should panic, it should be them." Whoosh! The black flying boat soared through the sky above Yulon City, heading straight for Chaotic Origin Palace. Just a reminder, for a while I changed some translation names such as Emperor Qing, Di Qing. Emperor Ming, Di Ming. Emperor Fu, Di Fu, etc. Because the word can be translated to emperor or just the name of a character. On the first floor of Chaotic Origin Palace, shop number 3. Whoa! The chubby old man, Buu, widened his eyes as he observed the storage bag filled with the corpses of low-level chaotic origin life forms. Among them, one particularly large, crimson corpse stood out. Judging by its size and aura, this is a middle-stage God Emperor low-level chaotic origin life form. Buu looked at Luo Feng and Di Qing in surprise. In Yulon City, being able to hunt down a middle-stage God Emperor low-level chaotic origin life form was already proof of a team's strength. "Hurry up and bid," Di Qing urged. "For this fiery hideous corpse, the highest I can offer is 12.5 million chaotic origin crystals," Buu said. "Including its 10 battle merits, that brings the total to 13.5 million chaotic origin crystals." Luo Feng and Di Qing exchanged a glance. This was already the highest bid. The other 2 shops they had visited earlier had offered only 12 million and 12.2 million, respectively, without considering the battle merits. You can have this fiery hideous corpse, Di Ching said with a smile. Bu immediately burst into laughter. He had been determined to obtain this complete fiery hideous corpse. The core tendon of the fiery hideous corpse was something that the power backing him had been purchasing for a long time, and the other body materials could be used for crafting weapons, alchemy, puppet refining, and more. Even though this was only a middle-stage God-Emperor low-level chaotic origin life form, that was mainly because such life forms had lower realms and couldn't fully utilize their advantages. As beings that were naturally beyond the ordinary, their corpses were quite unique. In the hands of cultivators, they could be put to great use. Even the smallest fragments could serve as materials for cultivators to study and enhance their cultivation. Sell them all. Luo Feng and his team visited the three most familiar shops on the first floor of Chaotic Origin Palace and sold off everything that was suitable for sale. This time, from hunting one middle-stage God Emperor and 7 early-stage God Emperor low-level Chaotic Origin life forms, we made a total of 19.5 million Chaotic Origin crystals, Luo Feng calculated. He and Di Ching quickly divided the earnings. The split was 30 to 70. Di Ching took 5.85 million Chaotic Origin crystals, while Luo Feng received 13.65 million. Luo Feng had previously borrowed 300,000 Chaotic Origin crystals from Di Ching to purchase an array treasure, so he returned that amount as well. When dealing with the spoils from killing Kumo, don't rush, Di Ching advised. Take your time and look around in Yulon City. Luo Feng nodded. Handling those spoils was a bit tricky. If he wanted to be lazy, he could sell everything directly in Chaotic Origin Palace, but the discount would be too steep. Complete corpses of low-level Chaotic Origin life form could be sold there, but many scattered materials, pre-prepared poisons, and rare ingredients for poison refining needed to be sold to people who actually knew their worth. Also, be careful of Kumo's master, Yu Yong, and of Guile Workshop. Di Ching reminded him before leaving. Luo Feng then set off to handle the spoils. In Yulon City, there were 3 main forces involved in theft and plundering: Insect Nest, 10,000 Shadows Building, and Guile Workshop. Even though the city housed 723 late-stage God Emperor Dao cultivators, these 3 forces still dared to engage in such activities. It was evident that they were all extremely powerful. Deputy Leader, Kumo from the Black Light team, is dead. The 4 elite members of the team had returned to Yulon City before Luo Feng's team and had naturally reported the news. Guile Workshop had 8 deputy leaders in total, each possessing the strength of a late-stage God Emperor Dao cultivator. Among them, 2 were even elders of Yulon City. These 8 deputy leaders were the real decision-makers of Guile Workshop. As for the workshop leader, the workshop leader was incredibly powerful, nearly at the level of the 3 palace masters. He rarely showed himself. His main focus was on his clone in the darkness sacred world. Maintaining Guile Workshop's presence was merely a means to reap sufficient benefits. Kumo is dead? A handsome man wearing a white robe sat there. His entire body naturally had a thin layer of halo on the surface of his skin. If one looked closely, the halo was actually formed by several layers of protection. This man was one of the deputy leaders of Guile Workshop, Elder Qianhe. I have only 20 teams under my command, Elder Qianhe said with a faint smile. Losing a member from Blacklight team means reorganizing the team. That's a bit troublesome. His fingers were white, like crystal jade, casually poured himself a drink. How did he die? Deputy Leader, here's the full intelligence report. A golden-armored figure respectfully presented the report. Elder Qianhe scanned through it briefly. It detailed the entire battle leading to Kumo's death. Luo Feng, he murmured softly. A cultivator who has only been in Yulon City for 700 epochs. His physical body method is quite interesting. But he didn't pay much attention on it. He was an expert from the origin world, serving as an elder in Yulon City and a deputy leader in Guile Workshop, all just for the sake of making some extra profit. His real focus was also in the darkness sacred world. As a Dao cultivator who had long reached the late-stage God Emperor level, he had accumulated vast wealth over countless ages. Even in Yulon City, he possessed a complete and formidable set of secret treasures. Naturally, he didn't see Luo Feng as a real threat. He killed one of my subordinates, he should compensate me, Elder Chinha said, glancing at the golden armored figure. Go find Luo Feng and tell him, he must compensate me with 50 million chaotic origin crystals, and this matter will be settled. If he refuses, don't force it. Just come back. Understood, the golden armored figure replied respectfully before departing. Elder Chinha sipped his wine leisurely, showing no emotional fluctuation at all. A subordinate had died? He couldn't care less. His clone in Yulon City existed purely to accumulate resources. Yulon City, it's been boring for too long, he mused with a faint smile. Luo Feng. If he dares to refuse me, that would make things interesting. Elder Chinha anticipated some amusement. If one wanted to reap long-term benefits in Yulon City, it wasn't just about reputation, one also needed to be sufficiently intimidating, and intimidation was built through bloodshed. Humph. Elder Chinha's gaze turned cold. To him, his time in Yulon City was merely a way to unwind. In the core area of Yulon City, within a cave residence far superior to Di Qing's in terms of security and energy supply. Kumo is dead? Yu Yong sat in his cave residence, receiving the news along with a full record of the battle from the 4 returning teammates. Yu Yong had towering physique. Unlike Dao cultivators, he was a chaotic origin bloodline cultivator. In terms of strength, he had nearly pushed his chaotic origin bloodline to the half-chaotic origin level. However, he still lacked in tiny bit. Status of a true half-chaotic origin bloodline cultivator was only comparable with a late-stage God Emperor Dao cultivator. Yu Yong's current strength barely met the lowest threshold for entering the darkness sacred world, but he was unwilling to take the risk. Even if he entered, he would be at the absolute bottom. He preferred to stay in the 9 Rivers sacred world, continuing to accumulate, at least until he truly reached the half-chaotic origin level. Kumo, Yu Yong sighed softly. I've long said that when we come to the 9 Rivers sacred world is much easier. There was no need to join Guile Workshop. Yu Yong and Kumo had climbed up from the very bottom together. Over the years, they had other companions, but in the end, only the 2 of them had made it to the 9 Rivers sacred world. For cultivators from the origin world, the path of cultivation was exceptionally difficult. Reaching the God Emperor level was nearly impossible. However, Yu Yong and Kumo had all sorts of resources and cultivation was much easier, but crises were everywhere and death approached time and time again, forcing them to cultivate. If they were not strong, they would die. I once saw Senior Jin with my own eyes. He said that if we can jump out of the cage, he would resurrect our fallen comrades. Yu Yong sighed. The most important thing for us is to jump out of our cage, Yu Yong murmured. Not to fight and kill other cultivators endlessly. Yu Yong understood his disciple, Kumo, very well. Kumo had grown up in a life of slaughter. Even after becoming a God Emperor, he continued to walk this path out of habit because it was the fastest way to earn resources. In the past, the environment forced us and we had no choice but to kill. But now, the 9 Rivers Holy Realm does not compel us. We can slow down. Yu Yong cherished these relatively peaceful and leisurely days. Luo Feng, Yu Yong looked at the intelligence report in its entirety. Perhaps Luo Feng is Kumo's tribulation. He had no hostility toward Luo Feng. If someone actively plundered and sought to kill another, then ultimately died, who could they blame? On the path of slaughter and growth, Yu Yong had witnessed too many companions perish. He was even prepared to die at any moment himself. In the end, he and Kumo were fortunate enough to completely jump out of their origin world and arrive at the 9 Rivers sacred world. That Kumo died here did not surprise Yu Yong in the slightest. Choosing the path of plunder meant one had to be ready for the backlash. I will not avenge you. Yu Yong sighed softly. I believe that's exactly what you would have wanted, Kumo. The 2 of them understood each other too well. Although they were master and disciple, after countless years of growing together, they had long become life-and-death companions. My path of cultivation has only one goal, to jump out of the cage. Yu Yong's eyes were firmer than ever. Only by jumping out of the cage could he make up for far too many regrets. Luo Feng was strolling through various shops in Yulon City, looking for a suitable way to handle his vast spoils of war. He did not insist on selling at the highest possible price, but he wanted to get close to it. The sky had already darkened, and the wind was strong. Just as Luo Feng stepped out of a shop, he saw a golden armored figure appear ahead. The figure was fully clad in golden armor, staring at Luo Feng with a cold expression. Guile Workshop, Chiu Yike. Luo Feng immediately recognized him. He had already purchased intelligence on all the god emperors in the city. While he hadn't bought the latest updates, such information rarely changed significantly in a short period. Chiu Yike, a middle-stage god emperor Dao cultivator of Guile Workshop. You're here because of Kumo? Luo Feng looked at him. Luo Feng. The golden armored figure stared at Luo Feng. Kumo was under our deputy leader of Guile Workshop, Elder Tianhe. You killed Kumo, and the deputy leader is furious. However, considering that Kumo was the one who tried to plunder you first, we're giving you a chance to atone your sins. Give me a chance to atone for my sins? Luo Feng looked at him. Compensate us with 50 million chaotic origin crystals, and Guile Workshop will let this matter go, the golden armored figure said. 50 million chaotic origin crystals? Luo Feng laughed in anger. Your Guile Workshop's people tried to plunder and kill me outside the city. I counterattacked and killed one of you, and now you demand compensation from me. Am I supposed to just sit there and let myself be slaughtered when attacked? You were free to fight back. But after doing so, you still have to compensate us, the golden armored figure replied. Within 3 days, deliver 50 million chaotic origin crystals to the deputy leader. Of course, you can also choose not to pay. But the consequences are not something you want to see. With that, the golden armored figure turned to leave. No need to wait 3 days. Luo Feng spoke up. Go back and tell your deputy leader, Elder Tianhe, forget 50 million chaotic origin crystals. You won't get a single one. Do whatever you want. The golden armored figure glanced at Luo Feng, then grinned. I respect that. With that, he flew away. This video will end here.